Hello, my name is Gary May, and I will be introducing you to the Canadian who shared his knowledge of oil and helped make the Austro-Hungarian province of Galicia an early economic powerhouse. By the 1850s, an oil industry had been established in both Canada and Galicia. While these two lands were thousands of kilometers apart, they shared a common goal, a desire to produce lighting fuel. In separate events, Ignacy Lukasiewicz in Poland and Abraham Gesner in Canada had invented a way to turn crude oil into lighting fuel. In Canada, Petrolia was a frontier town where oil was discovered. Its discovery attracted oil explorers from across Canada and the United States. And what happened here was about to have a huge impact on events in Eastern Europe. So where is Petrolia? Petrolia is located in the modern-day Canadian province of Ontario, 280 kilometers southwest of Toronto. In 1865, William McGarvey, who worked in his father's shop, left that shop to go to Petrolia to open his own mercantile business. McGarvey also started to buy oil wells. McGarvey learned from those around him, and soon he was drilling for oil, transporting it, and even refining it in his own refinery. McGarvey proved very successful and became widely respected as a good and moral businessman. In the early days, oil wells were drilled by use of a spring pole. A chisel-like drill bit was attached to the end of a pole that was raised and lowered by use of a foot pedal or treadle. The drill bit pounded through the rock. Later, this simple drilling system was improved upon with the addition of a series or string of wooden poles, wood of the black ash tree. The drill bit was placed at the end of the string, which was raised and lowered by steam power. This came to be known as the Canadian pole tool drilling system. This well drilling system came about as a result of improvements that were introduced by William McGarvey. One of the earliest large refineries built in Petrolia was owned by William McGarvey and his partner, a man named Martin Woodward. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic Ocean in the United Kingdom, an engineer named John Bergheim was learning about oil production. Bergheim heard about the new Canadian technology and wanted to find out more, so he traveled to Petrolia, Canada. In Petrolia, Bergheim met William McGarvey and other leading members of the oil industry. He was impressed and learned. Bergheim asked McGarvey to collect equipment built by the Oil Well Supply Company in Petrolia, create a team of Canadian oil workers, and come to Hanover, Germany with him to explore for oil. 2 years later, in 1881, McGarvey agreed to go, but after 2 years of drilling in Germany, the new company had met with only limited success. Still, McGarvey remained confident in his methods and knew all he needed was better oil lands. Those lands existed farther east in the Austro-Hungarian province of Galicia. A Polish engineer named Stanislaw Szczepanowski visited McGarvey in Hanover and told him about the potential in Galicia for striking oil riches. McGarvey accepted Szczepanowski's invitation to come to Galicia with him and began striking large quantities of oil in Krij and Lipinki. McGarvey introduced his Canadian technology into the oil fields of Galicia. First came his well drilling system, using the Canadian pole tool drill. Then, to pump the oil from the ground, McGarvey introduced the field wheel and jerker line system that connected several wells to one power source. Notice the similarities. The Canadian field wheel is on the left, and the Polish one is on the right. McGarvey needed many more trained workers, and the Galician workers were not yet familiar with his methods. He began advertising in Canada for trained workers to join him in Galicia. Among the many who came were Jacob Perkins and Charles Nicholas. Both men became very successful in Galicia's oil fields. McGarvey established his own refinery and machine factory at Glinnik Mariampolski, also known locally as Mariampol. This is the first company headquarters McGarvey built at Mariampol. Earlier, McGarvey had brought his family with him to Hanover, Germany. Now he wanted them closer to where he was working in Galicia, so he built a beautiful new estate at Glinnik Mariampolski. McGarvey never was able to learn the Polish language, but his Polish-American wife, Helena Wesolowska, was helpful in teaching him about his new society, and he quickly began to fit into it. Later, McGarvey built a new head office at Mariampol. This is what the headquarters looked like when this author visited in 2007. In 1895, McGarvey and Bergheim turned their expanding company into a publicly traded one. Here is an advertisement for the company in German that emphasizes McGarvey's continued important role in the operation. Known as the Galician Carpathian Oil Company, it invented its own equipment, built it in Mariampol, and sold that equipment around the world. While McGarvey's headquarters was now located in Vienna, he often visited Mariampol to meet with employees. His son Frederick took over management of the Mariampol facility. Fred McGarvey attended university and a technical academy in Germany to prepare for taking over the company someday. When the company became publicly traded, McGarvey appointed some of his trusted Polish lieutenants to key positions. Meanwhile, the Austrian emperor honored McGarvey for his contribution to making Galicia the third most important oil production center in the world. Here McGarvey wears the Iron Crown medal he was awarded by the emperor. Facing competition from Standard Oil of the United States, McGarvey knew his company needed to expand if it was going to survive. He expanded into Russia and Romania. But there were dangers in expansion. In 1911, McGarvey's brother James, who operated the company in Russia, was murdered during a break-in at his home. James's wife was injured, but she survived. Then in 1912, McGarvey's friend and business partner John Bergheim died in a car crash in London, England. A long partnership and friendship had now ended. The outbreak of war in 1914 was a third blow to McGarvey's company. When the Russians invaded Austrian Galicia, they blew up many oil facilities, including those of William McGarvey. Farther east, McGarvey's oil fields in Borislaw also lay in ruins. In November 1914, McGarvey died at his Vienna home. At the time of his death, he believed his entire company had been destroyed. But that was not exactly true. Under Fred McGarvey's leadership, the company was largely rebuilt. However, the Russian facilities were taken over by the Soviets and were never part of the company again. Under Fred McGarvey's strong leadership, the various parts of the company were sold off during the 1920s. The sale left Fred and his sisters very wealthy. They enjoyed their wealth for the rest of their lives. Fred McGarvey died in England in 1963. Thank you for allowing me to participate in this important conference.